Everything is about to explode in Landman, Season 2, Episode 3. The trailer makes one thing painfully clear. Tommy is done holding back. Cooper is sinking deeper into danger, and Gallino is tightening his grip on everyone without even lifting a finger. The tension we felt building through Episode 2 finally snaps, and what's coming next looks like the kind of chaos that can tear families apart, destroy billion-dollar legacies, and rewrite every alliance we thought we understood. If Episode 2 left you shocked, Episode 3 is the moment the storm actually hits. Episode 3 is shaping up to be the moment where truths rise to the surface, masks come off, and every character is forced to face the consequences of the mess created so far. And at the center of all this pressure, once again, stand Tommy and Cooper. Two men who love each other, frustrate each other, and are somehow fighting the same war without realizing they're standing on different sides of the battlefield. The trailer makes it clear that Tommy has finally connected the dots. He knows exactly who Cooper has unknowingly partnered with, and he understands better than anyone else just how dangerous Gallino really is. For years, Tommy has dealt with men twice as powerful and twice as ruthless as Gallino, but this time feels different. This time, the threat isn't coming after him, it's coming after his son. And that alone turns Tommy from a seasoned oil man into a father ready to do whatever it takes to keep Cooper alive. Even in Episode 2, we saw how Cooper's excitement blinded him. He thought he had struck the deal of a lifetime, a partnership that would prove once and for all that he wasn't just Tommy's boy. He could build something on his own. But the devastating truth revealed at the end of Episode 2 changes everything. Gallino didn't choose Cooper because he respected him. He chose him because Cooper was vulnerable, eager, and easy to manipulate. He used Tommy's son to get the power he couldn't take from Tommy himself. That betrayal doesn't just cut deep. It sets the stage for one of the most explosive confrontations in the entire season. Tommy confronting Gallino in the trailer is not just business. It is personal, emotional, and fueled by fear disguised as anger. The way he stands in front of Gallino, with that steady yet threatening calmness, shows that he is not warning him. He is promising him something. A man like Tommy doesn't raise his voice unless he must. When he speaks low, steady, and controlled, that's when you know danger is truly brewing. And Gallino, he doesn't back down. Not even for a second. He doesn't flinch, doesn't blink, doesn't show a trace of hesitation. Instead, he responds in a way that only makes everything worse. With subtle threats, quiet confidence, and that chilling sense of power, Gallino proves he is not scared of Tommy. He is entertained by him. That's what makes this situation terrifying. Tommy knows the world Gallino comes from, a world where loyalty means nothing, money buys everyone, and threats are followed by actions without a moment's hesitation. By stepping into this game, Cooper has unknowingly put his entire family on Gallino's radar, and Gallino doesn't let go once he decides someone is useful to him. Meanwhile, the cracks in Cooper's life continue to widen. His heartbreak with Ariana is still fresh, his confidence is shaken, and he is about to realize that his biggest triumph was actually the doorway to his worst nightmare. Episode 3 will push him into a corner he has never faced before. He wanted independence, success, respect, but the price might be higher than he can afford. His name, his future, even his safety are now tied to a man Tommy has spent years avoiding. And that alone guarantees that Cooper's journey this episode will be emotional, painful, and full of realizations that will shape the rest of the season. Tommy trying to protect Cooper will cause even more distance between them. Cooper wants to prove he can stand on his own, while Tommy wants to protect him from a threat he can't even fully explain yet. This clash is exactly why the upcoming father-son conflict is going to be so intense. At the same time, Cammy's storyline continues to spiral downward. The missing $400 million, the very money that has haunted her nonstop, finally gets a new lead. And once again, Tommy is dragged into another dangerous corner of Monty's mess. The trailer shows him smashing a bottle over a man's head, and this doesn't look like anger, it looks like desperation. Monty's secret deals have put Cammy at risk, MTech's at risk, and now Tommy is forced to navigate both a personal war with Gallino and a financial disaster left behind by someone no longer alive to answer for it. Every thread in this season is starting to tie back to the same root problem. Nobody is safe from the consequences of Monty's actions. And through all of this, the atmosphere only gets heavier. Episode 3 carries the kind of tension where you can feel something huge is about to break. Every character is trapped between loyalty and survival. Tommy trying to keep his family intact, Cooper trying to prove himself, Cammy trying to rescue MTEX from its darkest hour, Ariana facing danger that may push her back toward Cooper. Even Angela and Anansley, despite their usual chaotic behavior, seem to be stumbling into situations that can no longer be fixed with simple apologies. Everyone is walking toward a storm, and episode 3 is where lightning finally hits. If this is how intense the beginning of the season is, the rest of season 2 might just become the most explosive chapter Landman has ever delivered. Cooper's rise is supposed to be the dream he has been chasing since the very first season, but episode 3 turns that dream into something darker, heavier, and far more dangerous than he ever imagined. In the trailer, the one line that hits the hardest is that Cooper's success is finally drawing attention, and under normal circumstances, that would be something to celebrate. But in Landman, attention is almost always the first sign of trouble. The more eyes on Cooper's achievements, the more vulnerable he becomes, because none of the people watching him are cheering for him. They're studying him. They're measuring his weaknesses. They're calculating how useful he can be, and how easy he might be to control. Gallino saw that potential immediately. Cooper wants validation. Cooper wants independence. Cooper wants to shake off Tommy's shadow. And Gallino used every one of those desires to bring him closer. Now, in episode 3, the trailer suggests that Cooper will finally realize something is wrong. The admiration he thought he earned was actually a trap disguised as opportunity. And the sad truth is that Cooper has no idea how deep he already is. Even when Tommy tries to warn him, Cooper refuses to accept the reality. Not because he is naive, but because he desperately wants to believe he earned this moment. He wants to believe he is not just Tommy's son, but a man who can build empires with his own hands. That internal conflict is what makes Cooper's journey so tragic. He is fighting the wrong enemy. The danger isn't Tommy. It's the man who is smiling at him from across the table. And that smile from Gallino is exactly what makes him such a chilling antagonist. He never raises his voice, never shows anger, never forces anything. He lets people walk willingly into the cage he built around them. Gallino doesn't just threaten. He promises outcomes, without ever needing to say the words directly. When he sits with Tommy in the trailer, the tension is suffocating. You can feel the history Tommy has with men like him, and you can feel the fear Cooper would have if he truly understood who he had agreed to partner with. Gallino is the type of person who sees every human being as a piece in his game. Cooper is a pawn. Tommy is a threat. Cammy's company is leverage. And Monty's old secrets are weapons still waiting to go off. This layered power dynamic is exactly why episode 3 feels like a turning point. For the first time, Gallino steps out from the shadows and reveals just how large his reach is. Nothing happening to the Maguire family is coincidental. Not the partnership, not the money, not the information leaks. Every piece has been placed with purpose. And that realization will hit the characters too late. While Cooper deals with the emotional aftermath of Ariana's breakup and the growing weight of his decisions, Cammy faces a disaster that keeps expanding faster than she can control. Episode 2 forced her to accept how deep Monty dragged MTEX into illegal dealings. But episode 3 will confront her with something even worse. The possibility that the missing $400 million didn't just disappear, it was buried intentionally. The trailer hints at a moment where Tommy and another mysterious figure question someone with violent intensity, demanding answers about the money. And the moment Tommy smashes a bottle over the man's head, the tone of the entire season shifts. This is no longer about paperwork, debt, or corporate mistakes. This is survival. Someone knew exactly how to use Monty's recklessness to destroy MTEX from the inside, and Cammy has seconds to react before the whole company collapses. Every time the $400 million is mentioned, the stakes grow higher. Whoever took it, whoever hid it, and whoever wants it back is dangerous enough that even Tommy is starting to lose his patience. And if Tommy breaks, you know the situation is beyond repair. Meanwhile, Ariana's sudden appearance in the trailer raises questions about who is threatening her and what situation she has fallen into. Her tension, her fear, and the urgency in her scenes make it clear that she is not just a side character anymore. She is part of the storm. The man she confronts, the danger she is facing, and the timing of these events suggest that Ariana's life might intersect with Tommy and Gallino far more than anyone expects. And like it or not, her fear will pull her back into Cooper's orbit. Breakups rarely stick in Landman when danger is involved. Pain and fear have a way of reconnecting people, especially two people who still love each other as deeply as Cooper and Ariana do. Their tension isn't resolved. It's suspended. And episode 3 is where that emotional thread begins to tighten again. On the other hand, Angela and Anansley continue to struggle with their own immaturity, and the trailer hints that their reckless actions will drag them into yet another crisis. But this time, the consequences seem bigger than before. Their behavior can no longer be brushed off as comedic relief. Taylor Sheridan is clearly setting them up for a wake-up call, because the tone of their scenes is shifting. Their chaotic choices are starting to affect real people, real businesses, and real conflicts. And if they don't evolve soon, they may become the reason someone else gets pulled into danger. Whether Sheridan will finally deepen their characters remains to be seen, but episode 3 feels like the moment where their storylines start moving in a more serious direction. Through all of this, Tommy remains the emotional anchor of the series. But with TL moving in, with Monty's mess growing, with Gallino circling like a vulture, and with Cooper drifting further away, even Tommy begins to feel the weight. The trailer shows the cracks forming, moments where he loses control, moments where he is forced to step into violence again, moments where he stops being the seasoned businessman and becomes the desperate father who will destroy anyone who tries to hurt his family. And that version of Tommy is the one Gallino should be afraid of. Because when a man like Tommy reaches his breaking point, someone gets buried. If episode 3 delivers what the trailer promises, then the real war of the season is about to begin. And every character, whether they're ready or not, is going to be dragged into it. The deeper we go into episode 3, the more obvious it becomes that Monty's mistakes weren't just careless. They were catastrophic. Episode 2 showed us the damage on paper, but episode 3 is where those hidden choices finally erupt into full-blown crisis. Monty didn't just sabotage MTechs with risky deals, he built an entire network of secrets behind the backs of the people who trusted him most. And now that he's gone, every door he left open is letting new threats slip inside. Gallino sits at the center of all this corruption. Even when he doesn't appear in a scene, his influence hangs over everything. Episode 3 is likely the moment we understand how far his reach extends into Monty's past, Cooper's future, and Tommy's present. Gallino is not an enemy who shows his power through loud aggression. He shows it through silence, through calmness, through the unsettling confidence of a man who already knows the outcome of every confrontation. And that's what makes him terrifying. When Tommy stands before him and threatens him, Gallino doesn't tremble. He studies him. He measures him. He decides how far he can push him before Tommy finally snaps. Gallino is not intimidated by strong men. Strong men are merely pieces he places where he needs them. And right now, he seems to need Tommy angry, Cooper vulnerable, and MTechs in chaos. Why? Because a broken family and a collapsing company are easier to control than a united front. That's the genius behind Gallino's strategy. He doesn't need to win. He just needs everyone else to lose themselves. Meanwhile, Ariana is fighting her own battles. She walked away from Cooper thinking she could build a life that made sense, a life full of the stability he couldn't provide. But danger has a way of pulling people back into their old worlds. The trailer shows her encountering a man whose intentions clearly aren't good. The fear in her eyes reveals that she is now dealing with something entirely outside her control. Whatever this situation is, it is serious enough to make her reach for help. And the only person who has ever been her safe place is Cooper. Their story has always been filled with unresolved love and pain and timing that never works. But episode 3 might be the moment life forces them to face each other again. Sometimes, heartbreak isn't the end of a relationship. It's the beginning of a new chapter. And with everything falling apart around them, Ariana and Cooper might find themselves drawn back together, not because they want to, but because they have no one else to hold on to. As all these storylines collide, we begin to see how episode 3 acts as the heart of the season. Every character is at a crossroads. Cooper must choose whether to admit he made a mistake partnering with Gallino or continue chasing success at the cost of his own safety. Tommy must decide how far he is willing to go to protect his family, even if it means breaking the law or breaking himself in the process. Cammy has to confront whether MTEX can be saved or whether she is fighting a losing battle. Ariana must choose between independence and the person she still deeply loves. And Angela and Anansley must either grow up or finally face consequences for their endless recklessness. Episode 3 is where momentum becomes impact. It's where secrets turn into confrontations, where tension turns into violence, and where every quiet conversation becomes a turning point. This episode is not just a continuation, it's a warning that everything ahead is going to be darker, heavier, and more dangerous than anyone imagined. And as the storm closes in, each character will realize the same painful truth. The past always comes back, and when it does, it doesn't knock, it breaks the door down. What makes episode 3 so intensely gripping is that all the buildups from the first 2 episodes finally collide head-on, leaving the characters with no more room to hide, no more excuses to make, and no more illusions to hold on to. Everything they believed was under control begins to fall apart, and the trailer hints at one of the most explosive confrontations the series has ever delivered. Tommy stepping directly into Gallino's world isn't bravery, it's desperation sharpened into rage. For a man who has spent his entire life walking carefully through fires, this is the moment he willingly steps into the flames. And it is not because he wants to. It is because he has no other choice left. Tommy has always been the type of man who carries the weight of everyone around him. But in episode 3, the load is simply too heavy, even for him. He knows what Gallino is capable of, and more importantly, he knows the consequences of allowing this man even a small foothold in their lives. When he confronts Gallino, the silence between them is louder than any shouting match. Tommy's eyes reflect years of experience, pain, mistakes, and lessons learned the hard way. But Gallino's eyes? They reflect something far more unsettling. A calmness only found in men who have no fear of losing, because they believe the game is already theirs. This tension bleeds into every scene of the trailer. Gallino doesn't have to lift a finger to show his strength. His power comes from the psychological trap he builds around his enemies. And Tommy is fully aware of the danger he is walking into, which is exactly why his threat feels so personal. He's not warning Gallino about business deals or money, he is warning him about his family, about Cooper, about Cammy. And anyone who threatens those two is not just an opponent to Tommy, they are a target. That's why this confrontation carries so much weight. Tommy has always been the calm storm, the man who calculates before he strikes. But episode 3 shows a shift. He is no longer trying to negotiate or reason. He is preparing for war, whether Gallino realizes it or not. And the frightening part is that Gallino does realize it. He just doesn't care. Cooper, on the other hand, is walking directly into the eye of this storm, without even knowing how dangerous the landscape around him has become. His name appearing in headlines, people praising his sudden success, and attention pouring in might look like a victory. But it is a victory built on Gallino's intentions, not Cooper's abilities. That is the difference that episode 3 will force him to face. Cooper has always wanted to break free of Tommy's shadow, to build something of his own, to prove that he is not just living off the legacy of others. But in the process, he walked straight into the arms of someone who sees him only as leverage. And the tragedy is that Cooper won't understand the full weight of this truth until it's far too late. His confidence, his excitement, and his desire to prove himself make him vulnerable in ways he doesn't even recognize. Tommy sees it. Ariana sees it. Even Cammy sees it. But Cooper is blinded by the belief that he has finally stepped into his own power. Episode 3 will test that belief in the most painful ways. And speaking of Ariana, her storyline continues to expand in ways that deeply intertwine with the central conflict of the season. The danger she faces in the trailer is a sign that her character is no longer just Cooper's emotional anchor. She is now stepping into the same world of threats and pressure that Cooper and Tommy are drowning in. Ariana, encountering danger on her own, forces her to confront the reality that life outside Cooper's world is not as safe or simple as she hoped. And the moment she becomes vulnerable, her heart instinctively turns back toward the one person she trusted the most, no matter how chaotic the relationship had become. Episode 3 may be the beginning of their reconnection, not because romance demands it, but because survival demands it. When everything around them falls apart, Cooper and Ariana might realize that the person they left behind is the one person they still need. At the same time, Cammy's unraveling crisis continues to spiral. The discovery that Monty hid more than just financial damage opens the door to new enemies and new consequences. Losing $400 million is not just a financial disaster. It is an invitation for danger to walk right into their lives. The trailer shows Cammy at the brink of breaking, desperate for answers, desperate for solutions, desperate to keep her company from collapsing on top of her. And Tommy's violent interrogation only adds more fuel to the fire. If the money was tied to Gallino's world, and all signs point to that being true, then Cammy is now standing at the very center of a battlefield she never asked to enter. Episode 3 won't be kind to her. It will tear away the remaining sense of stability she has left.